What's going on, YouTube? Enjoy here, right back again with a new video. Wanted to go over the Smite World Championship presented by Xbox One. It was two tournaments. Obviously, there was the Xbox Invitational, but it was considered a World Championship. And then you have the PC, obviously the World Championship for Season 2. I'm going to get into Xbox first real quick. There's four teams, obviously. It was Aware from the ESL from EU, Cognitive. Obviously, they qualified through the MLG Pro League. And then Eager won the UMG Invitational. And the fourth team was an open bracket team, which was Envious from the PC side. They came over and they dominated the Xbox scene. Just want to get into a Cognitive 2-0 EU. Aware pretty quickly, pretty handily. They did pretty dominated and well. And then Envious against Eager. Everyone thought that was going to be a good match. It really wasn't. No offense to Eager, but Envious really showed that their superior skills in Smite, despite metas between the two consoles of PC, PCs aren't really a console or whatever, the two of PC and Xbox, they dominated them because of their experience of them playing Smite longer than Eager. Eager, if for some reason Envious didn't make it through the open bracket, my vote was on Eager 100%, but since Envious won, they definitely got my vote, obviously. I mean, how can you not have them win? I mean, it's Omega. It was Omega on playing solo. Cyclone Spin was playing the carry role. Yeah, Kiki, Allied, and Weekend. It's pretty much was the NV team except for no Incon. It was Omega, and pretty solid team, obviously. Like I said, it was just the experience. They chill with these. It made them look like they were playing casuals against Eager. Just straight up dominating them in both games. And then you had in the finals, of course, Cognitive and Envious. Again, Envious dominated them. The games were longer. Cognitive had good games against. There was decent starts, I guess you want to say, in all three games. But Envious took the ball and ran with it like from mid game to late game the entire time. Like every game, they were up like 8,000 gold, 10,000 gold. The game 3 was up like 22,000 gold. You can tell the morale of Cognitive in game 3 that they knew they lost after game 2 because they just did it. In game 3 they tried, but like it just wasn't enough. They tried, but it just again like they just snowballed. Like Envious won one big team fight, took Gold Fury, and then it snowballed from there up until the end point. You can just tell that the morale was not there anymore. They just, like I said, they dominated this. They made it look easy. Omega even kind of was a partial asshole for saying that in the post interview after they won. Like Kelly asked Omega, "How's it feel?" And he's like, "I just want to go back to PC because this was just too easy." And the whole crowd was like, "Whoa!" Like holy shit. And I want to get into that. I'll get into that in another video comparing the two, obviously, because it is the same game, but it's two different consoles and it's two different communities and two different metas. There's this bad stigma, in my opinion, of Xbox where people think that we rely on the big circles like too much. And if you look at the picks and bans from Envious, they were smart and they just banned out the gods that have big circle plays. Like they banned Guan Yu every game because for some reason Xbox pros love Guan Yu, and I don't know why. I don't think he's very good, but that's just my opinion. They banned out Hoi and Odin and stuff that would cause the big circle problems. And they, like I said, Envious forced themselves onto the Xbox pros. They forced their meta, the PC meta, onto the Xbox pros and made them uncomfortable as hell. And that to me is why Envious won. Not only obviously because they're more experienced and just better players, no offense, but it was because the picks and bans that they forced them. Like they didn't ban good stuff. They didn't ban Soul Capri, Jingchen, and Bologna. They were banning Guan Yu, Hoi, Odin like almost every single game just because it got rid of all that big circle crap that we have the Xbox players have like the stigma about, and we have this idea or ideology that we think that that's what wins, but it really doesn't. And it forced them to play their meta, and then they just couldn't handle it, and they lost. That's why they lost. And that's why Envious won. So congrats to Envious. Congrats to Omega. Omega is the only two-time world champion on two different consoles. That's pretty awesome. But and can't wait to see what happens with Season 3 for him especially, and for the rest of Envious when they go back to PC. But now we're getting into the PC side of things. I'm not going to talk about everything that happened. I'm just going to talk about like the top four. Um, the semifinals was Envious and Paradigm, or not Envious, wow, Enemy and Paradigm, and that was a really good match. Enemy dominated the the group stage, and they dominated the quarterfinals because of their picks and bans. I feel like Enemy just won a lot of their games because of the picks and ban phase, and then of course they played, they played it out, and of course they won. But it starts off with that, and their strategies were really strong, really smart. They got what they wanted quite a bit. They drafted the same team a lot, but that's what worked for them, and that's why we're so successful. It was a good match between Paradigm and Enemy. Enemy did win 3-1, and but Paradigm didn't go out swinging though. I mean, obviously, Paradigm tends to be that team where they throw out these flavorful picks, these spicy picks, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sadly, didn't obviously. I'd love to see in Game 5 at least, but Enemy they came out on top. They went in the finals. Next up was Epsilon versus Cloud9. This was what everyone thought was gonna be the finals. This is what thought that everyone was going to be the match of the thing, and it was. It was probably the best match of the whole week, for sure. Cloud9 and Epsilon. Like, if there's any team out there who can beat Epsilon, probably because they had a dominating year. Obviously, well, from fall till now, we're not going to say a whole year because obviously spring and summer they weren't really good. Well, they were good, but they weren't like great. I mean, 27-1 record at the fall split. Super regionals, they beat everyone up until the finals. They lost to Paradigm 3-2, and then 3-0, 3-0, 2-0 everyone at Worlds up until they faced Cloud9. And when they played with Cloud9, they went to Game 5. Obviously, I'm just gonna skip over everything, but again, it was back and forth. It was literally like Cloud9 Epsilon, and then it was Cloud9 Epsilon, and then Epsilon again. It was literally back and forth, and these matches weren't. Game 4 and Game 5 got out of hand. Game 1, 2, and 3, they were all close. They could have won either way. Like, honestly, Cloud9 probably could have won 3-0. Like I said, the games were close. But in Game 4, Adapting took over. Game 4, Adapting picked Fenrir, which he hasn't played in like so long. Like, he hasn't been picked and banned in so long. People kind of forgot about Fenrir, but Fenrir hasn't been banned or nerfed, or not banned, nerfed or buffed or anything in the past couple of months. So he's been as good as he's been a couple months ago. I mean, he was really good, but people just forgot about him because all these other new junglers, that are being very popular, very high priority targets. Thor, Serket, even Mercury now. Oh man, I'm just kidding. I love the Run.exe skin, but the Mercury's obviously these are high, and Hunbots too, high priority target bans and picks for junglers. People forget about Fenrir. I don't know why, because Fenrir's awesome, and Adapting proved it. Adapting went 9-0 and like 10, I think it was 10 assists, maybe 9 assists. It's like 9-0 and 9. He didn't die in Game 4 as Fenrir, and he literally dominated the lane. And they were smart because Game 4 and Game 5 they dominated the dual lane. Not the dual lane versus dual lane per se, but Adapting showing his presence constantly in the dual lane, because everyone knows that Barracuda is arguably the best farmer in Smite. Like, he just knows how to get ahead. He just knows how to farm. Even when he's behind, he somehow gets ahead. And that happened actually in Game 4 at first. It was just a big team fight, and again, Adapting just starts off 9-0 and 9. It was ridiculous. He showed that he's the best. He is probably the best player in Smite right now. Easily, definitely the best jungler. It's just what he can do with these gods is ridiculous. And then you have. Wait, hold on. At Game 5, oh yeah, Game 5. They bullied the dual lane again. Game 5, they bullied the dual lane. They put Barracuda behind, and that was priority, in my opinion. It was priority to make Barracuda behind and kill him a bunch of times, because Barracuda doesn't die a lot sometimes, but he started like 0-3, and it crumbled. It crumbled. Eventually, and not discrediting Cloud9 at all, but they are resilient. Despite Game 4 and Game 5 getting out of hand, they tried, and they were fighting back, and they did win some fights, and they did get a Gold Fury, and they started contesting for 5 Giants, but it just wasn't enough. And so I commend Cloud9 for their match. I wanted Cloud9 to win the whole tournament. That'd been cool to see them all be 2-time world champions, not just Omega, but sadly they didn't. Now Epsilon did win against Cloud9. They move on to the finals against Enemy. And that was a really good match as well. Well, not really. Well, it kind of was. But again, you got to go back to this Epsilon squad, and they 3-0'd Enemy with, and it was as good as it can be for a 3-0. Enemy tried their best, but Epsilon just dominated them. They dominated with the picks and bans. They had like their nice picks. They got comfort picks. Epsilon just, they dominated them. I keep saying the word dominant, but that's what Epsilon has been since from fall till now. Has been dominant. Um, Only losing a handful of games. They've never lost. They've only lost one match, but in single games, I mean, they lost a couple obviously, but they don't lose, and they didn't lose. So congrats to Epsilon for winning and becoming the world champion. Congrats to Yaman, who was considered the MVP. A lot of people probably would have said adapting, but Yaman actually, they all had obviously a great weekend, but I feel like Yaman, I do agree with the more consistency. He had just a great, like I said, he's had a great set. It was just not dying for a while. Like he had a couple games in a row where he just didn't die, and he had he was picking Medusa mid, which is like such a genius thing. I guarantee we're gonna start seeing that more often. Medusa mid, we're gonna start seeing more Fenrir. I already played some ranked earlier the other day, and I saw like a lot of Ymir, a lot of Fenrir again, and obviously it's because of Radford playing Ymir. By the way, Radford's Ymir is awesome. The way he makes those walls, he levels up his wall earlier, and the way he makes them is just amazing. And of course, see a lot of Fenrir now because of adapting. So that's pretty much it. Wrap the video up. Again, the top four. Again, third and fourth place was Paradigm and Cloud9, and then second place was Enemy. Shouts to Enemy because no one thought, and that includes myself, before Super Regionals was a thing, when it was just the top four, I don't think no one even thought that they were going to make the Super Regionals. No one thought they were going to make it to Worlds even, probably. They showed up at Super Regionals. They showed up at Worlds. Getting second place is awesome. So congrats to them. They're a great team. They're a strong team. Easily one of the best teams right now in North America. And shout out to Cloud9 again, getting third and fourth, and Paradigm as well. And of course Epsilon again, and Envious of course winning the Xbox One. That's pretty much it. Wrap this video up. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed the little recap. Did your favorite team win? Let me know in the comments below. As always, if there's ever a problem, just hashtag grace and peace.